We're going to call this one ancestor worshiping because I don't know, maybe it's me. It's not like how we think, First of all, we have to understand what the body is and what the ancestor is and who you are. Our Egyptian families, because I'm not going to call them ancestors because that's not what ancestors is. You know what I'm saying? Our Egyptian family, they left detailed records of all that, but people misunderstand it. And, the promoters of the Egyptian Egyptology nonsense promoted to us in that sense. In ancient Egypt, or any writing, they did not have memorials to nobody. They did not. They memorialized themselves at that point in time. They did not have memorials to their aunts and uncles. You don't see none of that in their stuff. That's what people got it twisted. So when you say ancestor, the Egyptians was worshiping their ancestor, but it wasn't their cousins, aunts, grandparents, and the ones who came before them. You don't see none of that there. At the time when the person is a great person and they die, they get buried right. But you got different sides to burial. You got the Valley of the Kings for the top-notch, elite, intellectual one that understood life. You got the world of the gods. That's your tombs and all that, funerary. And then the mortals you never hear about because they never existed. And that would be where your family and everybody, and like me, everybody would be considered. Straight mortals, you don't get no monument. You don't get nothing to you. Nobody look back on you like that. That's fake. Why is that? I know y'all like, this motherfucker crazy. It's simple. You're not you. So how could I worship you if I'm smart and I know that that's not really you? See, only the mortals will think that that's dumb and worship that image of dumb. That's the same thing as worshiping the bull or worshiping the image. Nah. You came down here as a god, a divine being. The ones that they worship as gods. But you have to know you're a god. Else not, you read up on Egyptian funerary. If you don't, mortals go and don't exist. They don't even, I wouldn't say they die. Once they cease to live, they cease to exist. And in other words, those that have semi-life to them, I know it's a lot of people that know how to astral travel and stuff. So upon their death, those that never learn astral travel and how to wake up will cease to exist, like just go into a state of unconsciousness, period, darkness. But those that have some type of consciousness to them, they're gonna just be eaten by apep, apophis, or whatever you call it. Not neither one. My bad. I said it wrong. I'm a mentat. I want you to get it wrong because that's where you get the term the halls of a mentat or whatever. Because a mentat is the great crocodile that eat dead souls. You understand? Souls, the bodies that never the soul came out of it. And so that gets fed straight to a mentor. Those people don't exist. There's just billions, trillions going there every minute of the day. It's like a cloud. You look at how a apophis is eating dead bodies. Look at a cloud stream room, and he's just sucking in everybody. And it's, they're getting purified, recycled back out as pure soul, and hopefully another chance at it again. So, whatever we did in greatness in this physical world only stays in this physical world. Nobody knows about it outside of this physical world. It's not in the Akashic records of experience. Only experiences that help humanity on the whole stays in the Akashic records. That's why psychics could catch people and tune into murders, whatever it is, because that's down here on this frequency. You're not going to see it up there in those frequencies of stored memories with you and your friend chilling. No. You have that in your personal, physical life experience if you're able to go in there while you're alive. That's part of your knowing your all of yous and the different yous and all that. But only if you're here on Earth would you see a statue to you. You would see these images of you that ain't really you. You understand? Because those people is mundane people who only saw you for the flesh, saw you for the image, saw you for what they believed that you are. They didn't know who you was before you came. You was the eternal God, and that for when you actually die, you decay. Everything that they saw as you go back to its elemental form, and that was never you. The real you, or your real ancestor, is those three rays of light that call consciousness, the consciousness in the body. So how could you give consciousness, three rays of light, an image to worship and say, that's my ancestor, that's this? Those are sentimental feelings you have towards that person you saw. But say this person did great things like big buildings, architecture. Those is what they are known for, and the skills that they apply to make these things. This is what's really being stored in the Akashic record, the experience of life. But you, on the sentimental, emotional tip, is connected to them, so you store their image. When you store image, what you have is called elementaries and elementals. Elementals are what's called spirits. All the spirits you see, every little detail, every subatomic particle is what's called an elemental. Your elemental table are your basic earth, air, fire, water. Now you break it into different parts as far as hot, cold, and wet and dry. And you got all the elements in existence come from these. And these is another world of you. You're alive in those worlds as subatomic particles, put it like that, how you say, multiple possibilities of what could have played out. All of these happen within those worlds of the elemental worlds and colors, the frequency of the rainbow. So you would exist in the purple color, like if you did survive this. You would exist in this color if you did make this decisions. Those is all the forks in the roads of your decision making that is a part of what the elements. But it don't mean it's actually you. The reason why it's good to know elemental and elementaries. All right, we just did elementals is the forces of nature. You would call the fire. Within the fire, you have different species of what's called elemental, where they call them genomes. You know, you got salamanders is the one that actually exists in fire, but it's different races and species to them. Then you got ones that live in water, and you got ones that live in, hold on. Like in water, you have different ones in the water, and you have ones in the air. They got them in the four basic elements. And the ones of the earth, you got tree fairies, all these other stuff, rock fairies. You know, these is what you see now in the clouds. They got a ghost image to them that abide in the clouds, or they could come down into the actual trees or water or the element that they're from. So you have all these is literally your true ancestors, because that's who they was in the beginning. So now you raised in culture and you come here on this earth, you believe that you're these cultural things, you play culturally to them, because you're not praying to your ancestors, you're praying to the culture. You're doing it because you're following the culture. If you would have studied who your ancestor was or who your family member was, you would know that they was a god and they represented a force, an energy, a light, a consciousness that keeps coming back regardless of how you look at it in whatever image form. So to worship an ancestor image is a part of the mundane world. We don't worship image and we know who they was. We didn't see them as your aunt, your cousin, your sister. Nah. They're still the same one God when they found themselves, when they became conscious of who they really are. But you see, we got connected to them and we want to keep their ghost alive. For me, we don't do that because they're on another journey and we pull them back from their journey. But a lot of people don't know it until they actually experience it or see it to know what I'm explaining. But it's deep science. But now the point is this. Being that your ancestors is already with you and is gods and everything, when we start, let me see, hold on. All right, I got it. When we start calling up on them as like, you know, prayers, these rituals, or how we say ancestor worship, like I said, our ancestors, the real ones, the Egyptians, They never. I'm not calling them ancestors too, because that word we need to redefine it. Our immediate family here on Earth, the Egyptians, they never actually had somebody from long time ago on their murals or something like that. They had only them and the gods, because the gods was those long time ago people. They know that. And that's what we have to realize. And if we was to get back to our blackness, we'll see it. You know why it's very important? Because what we do is we create these things called elementaries. You have elementals, what we just finished talking about, but elementaries now is dead ghost bodies that roam the earth. When you call upon the image, that's what you're really calling on. You're calling on elementaries. You'll see them roaming the earth. I have friends that do like spiritual work. They talk to those spirits and see them, and they're here because of trauma. They talk to them to be helped, to try to see if somebody could redeem them, or somebody could help them find their way by making them come to terms with themselves. So you got spiritualists that these beings go to, and they tell them, yo, I've been shot, I was murdered, this happened to me, I died. So to me, we open those portals when we start praying to them, lighting these candles, doing all these things to these things. We keep them here. We leave the portal not for that person, because their consciousness left the body and they're the pure consciousness of who they are now. But we praying to the shadow image, what they call the elementaries, a dead, dismembered body. And that's what a elementary is if you Google it, as far as a human being. And we got to understand that what a ghost image is and what we worship is not the actual ancestors. They go back to the actual state of their original true soul self. What you saw on earth was a conditioned soul made up by culture, by what they believe, and all this other stuff. When they die, all the little pigmentations, all the cells that you saw to make them up, stay here on earth and go back to the gods that they was. The inside of them is the true consciousness and other bodies, the emotional body, the cerebral body. Those is given to them by different creatures and different animals on their journey, the soul journey. Once they make it through the whole soul journey, which is called the astral body, these bodies, they change from like the emotional body to the casual body to the real astral body to the ethereal body, and then they become pure consciousness, which is spirit, light. And so there is no image to anything. You was once energy that formed, and now you take form and you leave and come back in form. So if I worship you in this life as this image and you come back again, you ain't gonna look like nothing like that again. You got a whole new frequency. Everything changed. The angle of the earth changed. So you're not gonna come back looking the same again, but you still are the same. It's another aspect of you. But we don't know which one it is, so we could be worshiping our ancestor and still be sleeping with probably our cousin now in this life, who was your mother in another life, who was your daughter in another life. It's weird, but you got to understand it. So be careful out here. And don't think that I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm telling y'all about ancestor worshiping, because what we consider ancestors, our mother, father, and all that. No, the gods consist of, called ancestors, the elementals, and the gods. That's the ancestors. You understand what I'm saying? University of Conscious Science.